Canada. Yeah, Canada. It's getting very interesting, and like I said yesterday, it is going to be very, very interesting weekend in Canada. And in FP3 we can see a lot of tables turning, but that is not the representative time or what it will look like. The track has been resurfaced, as we all know, and I think the resurfaced track looks more bitey and the traction level is amazing. But the Worlds of Champions keep collecting medals from people. Max Verstappen had medals collected or flesh broken from the Worlds of Champion. Alex Albon making some way and some time with Worlds of Champion, while a lot of grass cutting greyhounds finding themselves on the track. But it was funny that Daniel Ricciardo has been criticized this weekend about his confidence and why he's still in Formula 1, because it seems that he has lost his mojo and he has lost confidence level, as he has not really pushed himself or projected himself that he has been a champion in Formula 1, not a world champion, but he has won Grand Slams of races. And with his current situation in his different relationships, he has not proven to be dynamic driver that we know him to be, and he has been criticized. But in FP3 today, he showed doubters wrong. He proved them wrong, because we know, as I think and as I know, that he will be retained in VCAB next year alongside Yuki Tsunoda. He's showing the result of being retained and giving some dicing allies in those times. Max Verstappen keeps struggling with the kangarooing car. The Kangaroos have left Australia. They came to Monaco with the Red Bull. Now they are in Canada with Red Bull. The car still keeps kangarooing all around the track, and they still don't have solutions to that, especially to the wild crabs on the track in Canada. Max Verstappen's ERS was having issues yesterday. That's the MGUK, but for precautionary purposes they had to change the ICE and the PU yesterday, so they don't run into issues. He ran out of the pit early to set his time to see how his car is working. Also, the ERS has been sent to Milton Keynes in United Kingdom for tests and assessments to see what is going on with the wonderful ERS on the Red Bull. Sergio Perez's performance looks diminished, even for somebody that his contract has been renewed for 2 years. But like I said in one of my podcasts, if you've not listened to it, go and listen to it. For some of us that know, we know that majority of his sponsors are being used to cure their pain. And what is their pain? To pay Max Verstappen's salary. Huge salary. But all is well. Lewis Hamilton, being a champion 7 times in Canada and a pole setter 6 times in Canada, still came up today and set a strange lap, an amazing lap that nobody could close on to in FP3. We don't know if that will be related to qualifying. It shows that Lewis Hamilton understands this track better, and he's saying this track is not one of his best tracks, but it's showing that he has dominance on this track, because the last 2 times they've been on this track, even with a worse car, he has created daylight between himself and his teammate. And for me, I will always say it is not that, from what I'm seeing, it's not that George Russell could better Lewis Hamilton on any track, but that car had really hampered Lewis Hamilton from showing his best and giving his best. That's all I see. Anybody that has a contrary idea can come up and come against that, but certainly that's how I feel, because at 39, yeah, it will be 40 next year, and it still keeps showing decent pace, amazing pace, and wonderful speed, which shows he's in a class of his own. And Max Verstappen about 3 tenths away from him, and George Russell third in FP3. Daniel Ricciardo showing his times. The Aston Martin looks performing in FP3, but that does not reflect the real times that we are going to get into in qualifying. The Ferraris look far off the pace, the McLarens look far off the pace, but these are 2 teams that we know that could take pole and also win the race in Canada. But with what we are seeing with Mercedes, I think the front wings are working, but hope we are not seeing a Mercedes that will go back with beautiful FP1, FP2, and the remaining of the weekend wish wash. I hope that is not the Mercedes that we are seeing today. I hope they will be able to come out very well in qualifying and also do well in the race, which will stand and give their supporters a big hope in the season. And I hope that is what will happen. But the Red Bull still look off the pace, though the Max Verstappen is screwing out, bolting out all the pace in the car to make sure this car say, you must, but the car is not must. The car is not Elon Musk, so there is no moist in the car. The car is kangarooing, like I said at the beginning of this video. So let's see what happens in qualifying. But I think we are going bananas. The FP3 was dry all through. There's rain coming before the qualifying. I hope it dries off. I hope we are able to run a beautiful beautiful dry qualifying and a beautiful dry race tomorrow, which will make it a very strong weekend. But up until qualifying, let's jam there. Oh yeah, what a qualifying! The qualifying filled with so much excitement. The funny thing with the qualifying is this: I told you it's gonna be very interesting. All through the qualifying, there was no rain. The heavens were shut, and this is the first weekend in which, for the first 3 practices and the qualifying, they're having Mercedes-powered engine from 3 different teams in P1 leading practices and qualifying, and it was interesting, I can tell you that. And kudos to George Russell for taking the pole. Big kudos to Max Verstappen for driving himself out to make sure he nearly snatched the pole away from George Russell, and a great drive, a great kudos to the McLaren team. They did a good job. It got to a time in the qualifying that in which you have to be on the track at the right time and also get the right warm up. One of the things that worked for Mercedes this practice, especially the practice 3 and qualifying, was they were able to get their tire in the right temperature, which Ferrari was struggling with. Ferrari didn't get it at all. They were struggling with getting their tires in the right temperature for the qualifying, and that affected them. But Mercedes got there, especially with Lewis Hamilton in FP3 and George Russell in qualifying. Meanwhile, Max Verstappen struggled with the kangaroo. They struggled, but he was able to drive the heck out of the car. He drove the heck out of the car. But unfortunately, we lost Sergio Perez in Q1. We lost Bottas, Esteban Ocon, that will be having a 5-place grid penalty. We lost Nico Hülkenberg and Zhou Guanyu in the position of 16 to 20, and it showed how close it was. The difference between tire warm up, the difference between when you come up to do your runs, which I think affected some of them. They got into traffic. The wind also played the role, especially in Q3. Played a very vital role in Q3. And in Q2, we have the Ferraris out. What a surprise. Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, 11-12. Wow. William Sargent, Logan Sargent gave it all this weekend. What a wonderful qualifying for him. It was just some few hundred away from his teammates, which was a good one for him. Magnussen 14th and Pierre Gasly 15th. What a drive from them. And in the Q2, we had the Mercedes 1 and 2 in Q2, which was looking interesting. What qualifying for Daniel Ricciardo. Wow, Daniel Ricciardo gave it all in the qualifying. He gave everything. But in Q3, Max Verstappen and George Russell set the same time, just some few micro tenths apart. But who set the time first? George Russell. Lewis Hamilton was unable to get a recoverance, a good time on the sheet, because one, the wind changed around the time, though he was running behind the teammate. The wind changed that tipped him off at some point in time. That he struggled with the steering, and also he was unable to get the tire into the right temperature. The wind was also one of those things. Max Verstappen gave it all. From P1 to P4 was just a tenth. That's how close it was. Just 1/10. Wow. And to P7 we have just 2/800ths. Massive. So George Russell pole, Max Verstappen P2, Lando Norris P3, Oscar Piastri P4. Daniel Ricciardo, after a lot of criticism during the week, he came up and showed everybody that he still got it. He's still Daniel Ricciardo. Make on say waiting on I won't say I'm still Daniel Ricciardo. He gave it all. He was ahead of Alonso, who think they should not have given Daniel Ricciardo a pass ahead of them, because they thought the V-Cab were faster than the Aston Martin. That was their mistake, but maybe they can recover it in the race tomorrow. Lewis Hamilton, maybe he can recover in the race tomorrow, but I think I'll give an analysis of the race. You'll see that. Tsunoda 8th, Lewis Hamilton 7th, Alonso 6th, Stroll 9th. Wow, what a great one for the Aston Martin and for Lance Stroll in his home race, and Alex Albon 10th. We're having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wow, 7 Mercedes engine in top 10 in Canada, 3 Red Bulls. That's just it. 7 Mercedes engines, 3 Red Bull engines. Just 2 engine representation in the qualifying. In Q3, that's from P1 to P10. That is marvelous. Looking at the race pace, the Mercedes looks very strong on race pace. And also, the McLaren looks very strong on the race pace. The Mercedes had their race pace tested first in FP3, and they look strong, with George Russell having some mighty race pace. That is one of the reasons why he was happy after himself qualifying P1, because he knows that he can use his race pace to change the way the race will pan out. But I think it's going to be interesting, and from what I can look at, I think it's going to be a very close one. But I think Lewis Hamilton might be on the podium tomorrow. We can be having all Mercedes engine on the podium tomorrow. So let me just give you nothing too much to guess about. All Mercedes engine on P1, P2, P3 on the podium tomorrow. Mercedes engine all through tomorrow. So you can pick between the Russell, the Norris, the Piastri, the Alonso, the Hamilton, the Stroll and the Albon. But I can tell you it's an all Mercedes engine P1 to P3 winning tomorrow. And it's going to be very interesting. But for me, I will choose Russell, Hamilton and Norris on the podium tomorrow. That's the way I see it. Verstappen might struggle tomorrow, and we don't know what will happen. It's going to be raining from what we heard, but all through the qualifying and the free practice today, we had dry land. Possibly we will have dry land tomorrow, but there might be some elements of rain. We don't know yet, but it's going to be interesting, I can tell you. And the cars riding on Mercedes engine looks very strong in Canada, and they might just be able to take off the RB powertrain tomorrow and put them behind them. All the Mercedes powertrain, the 7 Mercedes powertrain might end up being ahead of the RB powertrain tomorrow. We might not know, but I'm telling you that might be the case. But up until tomorrow, I love you guys. Bye. Cheers.